Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm Dr. Jeffrey E. Berger, and welcome to season 2 of the Holistic True Wealth series in collaboration with Mupo TV, part of Mupo Entertainment. As the CEO and founder of Abundance and Optimum Wellness and a certified wellness coach, holistic wellness coach at that, I am of the belief that we all should be living in abundance and optimum wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. As a certified holistic coach today, I take a finance first approach to achieving all encompassing personal well being by embracing new ways to true wealth in the modern world. And by exploring diverse paths, it opens the doors to true wealth in every sense. And as a global ambassador for an innovative company revolutionizing the future of real estate through digital technology, I'm deeply committed to empowering individuals and communities worldwide. And my mission really goes beyond business by providing global-minded entrepreneurs and individuals with new ways to true wealth in the modern world so they can circumvent the system and go from financial fatigue to financial freedom. And it's about creating opportunities, providing access, and building a more inclusive and supportive digital world where everyone has a chance to thrive. True wealth is not only about money, it's about a combination of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial fitness. Myself and my special guests that I bring on are all about bringing awareness around alternative solutions from all aspects, leading one towards a path to overall true wealth. And the mission, providing real solutions for real people who are serious about wanting to go from financial or to who are going from barely surviving to actually thriving again. So with that, we're going to take a very quick short commercial break. And if you want to follow us, you can. We have an Android or an iPhone app that you can download, or go to Mupo TV. And we are seen in 144 countries, also seen on Fire TV, Roku, and Vimeo. And we will be right back with my special guest for today. Okay, we are back, and I'd like to introduce my very special guest today, Simon Chen, who is coming to us from Lake Cowichan, British Columbia. So that's on the other side of Vancouver, on an island out there. So Simon studied geological engineering at the University of British Columbia. And today, Simon is a health-based entrepreneur with a vision to provide clean water for the world and more. And he provides business coaching to sales reps interested in sharing the amazing technologies around Enagic. You're gonna have to say that word for me. It's like Enagic.
Rhymes with magic.
Enagic.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's a tongue twister there. So welcome, Simon, to Holistic True Wealth.
Thanks, Dr. Jeff, for having me.
You're very welcome. So it's great to have you on the show today. And before I jump into the questions, because you have some really interesting background and products that you're sharing with the world in regards to overall wellness, share a little bit about who you are outside of your business.
Yeah, for sure. I am definitely somebody that is just a regular guy. I stumbled across the business after, kind of going through a really depressive COVID episode, really just like getting into all this, negative politics, drama, all this kind of stuff, which made me think, the world is hopeless. Like, what is the point of even trying, right? But when you actually step into entrepreneurship and when you find your passion and when you find something that you really want to share with the world, then all of a sudden you start to realize, oh, actually, there's a lot of good in the world, right? There's a
Mhm.
lot of power within yourself to be able to make change for not just the community, but for the world. And so, what I really want to be sharing with people is that, whatever space you find yourself currently, even if you feel like you're starting from rock bottom, it's possible to find your dharma, find your ikigai, find your purpose, and really live the life that you're supposed to be living, which is, giving back to the world.
Exactly. I love that. And yeah, I think many of us have gone through that. Some of us have been very fortunate to really discover our purpose outside of the box that we've been taught to live in and not get out of. And it's about getting out of that box, getting into your uncomfortable zone, and really digging deep to see who you are and what your real purpose is. So, but you started with geological engineering. So, what really prompted you to move over to the world of water?
Great question. Yeah, I like most people, I kind of followed the same blueprint of go to school, work for 40 years, retire, and then die. That was just kind of what was expected of me. That was kind of what I expected for myself. And, during my degree, I realized I don't actually enjoy the work the work that's being cut out for me. I don't actually enjoy doing, um, like doing the grind, being told what to do, even just like short internships, like a 4-month internship at my dream company, made me realize, what, F it, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to do something else. And so I kind of, like I was saying, when I was going through COVID, I didn't really have a job, or I was cycling between jobless and like minimum wage. So I really had no idea what I was doing at that point. And it was pretty much just by a stroke of luck, maybe you can call it a download from the universe, that I happened to connect with my mentor. And I've always had like I've always had a somewhat of a passion for water. Like whenever I would travel to Fort Myers, Florida, which is right where you are,
Exactly.
with my sister, I just noticed, like, man, this water, even with the filter, tastes absolutely, just it tastes like it was made from a lab, like all of the stuff that's being put in the water. I'm like, this can't be good for you. So it's
Nasty.
always been in the back of my mind, like how important water is. I just never expected myself to be such a big advocate for it now. And so I realized with the business, because I knew that I was unemployable after kind of going through a big spell of just like not being able to do the work that was cut out for me. I was like, let's give this a try. And so now, after doing over a year of like entrepreneurship training, coaching, a lot of like the stuff that people consider to be pretty woo woo, manifestation, visualization, all this kind of stuff. I'm in a space where I'm like just fully in it. I fully
Right.
feel like this is my purpose, and I feel like I'm able to share the message with the world and, not have to hide myself back any longer.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. And it does take a lot of outside work in order to do that. And that's where my whole thing with living an abundance and optimum wellness, because it's a combination of, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial. And they're all intertwined together, serving its own purposes to be able to congeal, if you will, and grow from that as a foundation, and really hone in on those different areas, and build that expertise that you're building and sharing it with the world. So and you talk about the water in Fort Myers, and luckily we're on well water here, so we're a little bit better off in some respects, but city water, it's filled with so many chemicals, and we see that there is sabotage to some of our water systems around I'll say the world. It's not only happening here in the United States, but also the world. And then when you've got your, the stuff that's getting thrown down the toilet, when people are throwing drugs and stuff like that, it's really having an impact. So share with the viewers what you've learned, some of the, the top nuggets about around our water today, especially those who are on city water, because where I live, we're going to be getting city water, in the next couple of years. So it's something that we're actually looking at to eradicate and not drink it, just use it for, outside watering plants, so forth and so on, and no cooking. But share some of the important danger signals that people should start becoming aware of, because it does have an impact on our physical and mental well-being.
There's a website that some of you might be familiar with called the Environmental Working Group, or the EWG.org. And whenever I'm talking to people in the US about, what's in the water, they actually have reports for all the different utilities in the US that show this is what the recommended level for each of these chemicals are, and here's how much is actually present in the water. And if you go through these different reports, it's very common to see like chlorine levels to be 300, 400 times the recommended amount. Arsenic levels like at least 20, 30 times the recommended amount. And there's all of these different compounds. And when you take a look at what it says underneath each label, it'll say potential effect to cancer. And so when we're just drinking straight from the tap, especially if we live like where I live in Canada, in that specific section of the world, everyone just assumes like we have really clean water, which compared to most other places, yes, we do. But that doesn't mean that we're not being exposed to the disinfectants that the municipalities put in our water, things like chlorine and fluorine to get rid of the bacteria and viruses, which, great that they're doing that. But the long-term exposure of these chemicals means that we're going to have some unintended side effects. There's also been a study in the Bow River in Alberta, which is one of the most well-known rivers in Canada. People go and visit it all the time. People go fishing there, and they found that the fish there, a large majority of them had actually switched gender. Like I know that fish populations do naturally do that, but the rate that they were doing that is much higher than expected. And the reason that they found that was because the estrogen levels in the water from women's menstrual products being flushed down was causing this change. And this is the water that people are primarily getting their drinking water from. So if it's like doing this to fish, then what is it doing if you're drinking it straight from the tap?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. So, and I'll have to go do that website one more time, and so people can write it down.
Yeah, it's just ewg.org, and you'll be able to search your state and zip code and find your utility. The water reports are quite shocking.
Okay, and there should be no percentage of acceptance of these chemicals in our body, period. They shouldn't even be there, but we just have to be more aware of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick short commercial break. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a global ambassador for a unique high technology company that's expanding here in North America with real estate tech and financial tech and educational tech, AI, metaverse. And it's giving people a different perspective of the technologies that are being developed today that are changing the world in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years from what we are doing today, because what we're going to be doing today is going to be obsolete. And there is some financial benefit for, coming on board with this if those people are looking to diversify their portfolios. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back with Mr. Simon Chen, who is joining us from Lake Cowichan, British Columbia, on the west side of Vancouver, on an island. And I looked it up today. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, Simon, not only are you really educating the world about water resources, let's jump over to the 5G and the EMF radiation. And we know that 5G is sprouting up like rabbits giving birth to their little bunnies. And share with our viewers what that really means and where we are today around that technology, and it's really having a major impact on our own health. Share a little bit about that.
Hmm. Hmm. So there was a study that a few doctors within this field did with EMF and 5G on the effect on our blood cells clumping. And they found that even just 30 minutes exposure to, consistent radiation caused our blood cells to clump to the degree that you would normally see in cancer patients. And so what their concern was, if we're exposing ourselves to prolonged periods of time with EMF radiation, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 5G, all this kind of stuff, if we're sitting at our screens for sometimes like 8-10 hours a day,
Right. Yeah.
what are going to be the long-term health effects for that? And so, the more that people are browsing their phones, browsing their computers, and we're being exposed, even if we're outside, like all the screens and displays and everything it's kind of unavoidable. And so, what I'd like to talk about is, in the modern era, it's a little bit difficult for most people to avoid this kind of technology altogether, unless maybe you're living in an Amish community. But there are ways that you can still protect yourself from the harmfulness of these types of technologies.
Awesome. So, I love how you're providing solutions for those individuals who are really concerned about their health, because more and more people are kind of waking up, thank God,
Hmm.
to the true state of affairs, if you will. And we're living in a world where health has not been a priority for major corporations. However, that there are resources and products out there that help combat these dangers. And I do want to share real quick here on the screen with our viewers that you represent two of these products here. And the one on the left is the Kagan water purifier, and then the M Guard on the right is for the 5G and the EM, that radiation that's coming into our homes. So, talk briefly. We got just a few minutes to talk briefly about that before we close out today's interview.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with the M Guard. So the M Guard is a radiation harmonizer. And what they found was that most of our organs, they receive frequencies at a frequency of around 30 to 100 megahertz, depending on which organ it is, obviously. Your brain receives frequencies at 72 megahertz. And so what the MGuard does is you can set it to 72 megahertz or slightly different frequencies so that you can be protecting your organs from the radiation penetrating through your skin. And that way, when you work on your computer, when you're browsing your phone, it's not going to, when you've been spending 10 hours on the computer, you can kind of like feel a headache. You can kind of feel your
Right.
eyes become really sore. With the MGuard, it protects the radiation from being able to affect you in that way. And the MGuard has a 4-meter radius. So any devices that you're using within, I guess, an 8-meter diameter, you will be protected. Um, so that's what I recommend for everybody, especially if they're planning to, or if they're continuing to be exposed to Wi-Fi and radiation, which most of us are.
Right.
With the Kangen water, the machine has a couple of different purposes. One of the big ones is filtering out chemicals like chlorine that all the municipalities are putting in our water. But the main purpose that it's known for is ionizing the water. So Water is H2O. There are 8 plates in the newest model of the machine, which separate the water molecules into hydrogen water and OH, or hydroxide. Now, the hydroxide is what causes it to be really acidic, and that gets flushed down the drain. The hydrogen water is what you want to be drinking.
Right.
And if you're setting it to the proper setting, you're going to be getting about 300 times the hydrogen content that would be present in normal tap water. And hydrogen is one of, if not the most powerful antioxidants that exist on planet Earth.
Yeah, no, I actually have a hydrogen water bottle. So it just pumps hydrogen into the water. And we spoke about, there's special arrangements for this particular machine because we looked at it, and unfortunately we have salt for our softener, and there is just too much salt. So we're waiting for city water to come in and then re-look at bringing one of these on board here to the house here. So real quick, we're kind of wrapping up here, and in the scroll bar down below is where people can get in touch with you, which is on Instagram. I did have your email on the 2 products, so you can reach out to Simon that way as well. I'm sure he's be happy to talk to you in great detail about the benefits of these 2 products. I've looked at the videos personally, some amazing information, especially about the radiation. I'm definitely doing more research on that, and it's a very unique technology, and I love what it has to offer. And so with that, last question for you today is, if there was one thing or one nugget or one inspiration that you could give one of our viewers today, or all of them, who are really looking to level up from a personal perspective, a business perspective, or a combination of both, what would that be?
Health is king. When you're healthy, you have all these different dreams and goals and aspirations. When you're sick, you only have one, and that's to get healthy. So if you're planning on putting off your health in, your pursuit of making a certain amount of money, in, finding the love of your life, and, achieving some sort of status that, is being expected of you or you're expecting for yourself, make sure that you always put health at the forefront when you're going for your goals, going for your dreams, because, you just never know what can happen if you neglect your health. So, as more and more people are waking up to, not following the standard medical advice, there's a place and time for all that, of course. But
Of course.
if you really want to be healthy, it's not up to the government, it's not up to other people, it's not up to anybody else but yourself to make the decision to take your health back.
I couldn't agree with you more. And this just takes me back to 2018 when my doctor wanted to put me onto an 8th medication, or excuse me, a 6th medication. And that's when I said no. And, we are living in a world of broken and corrupt systems because the systems are designed a specific way. And unfortunately, our medical system is all about managing illness and not really getting to the root cause. And since August of 2019, I've been pharmaceutical free. So there are there's great people out there. There's great resources outside of, I call the mainstream media. They're directing you towards pharmaceuticals and going to your doctors. Well, I was taught to believe and trust in doctors, and because they know what they're doing. Do they really? So those are questions that I started to really ask myself, because it was just get more medication, and same with the financial world. And today, as a global ambassador that I mentioned earlier, with an international, digital, technology company who's utilizing, again, real estate tech, financial tech, education tech, AI, and the metaverse. If you're interested in stepping into your uncomfortable zone and getting a little bit more information and getting educated on this, whether it's decentralization, real world assets is a big, big buzzword today. Digital real estate ownership, which is fractional ownership, the metaverse, scan the QR code. I do 5 monthly webinars to provide information and just guidance, and I do give away a free ebook that I've put together for people to get basic understanding on blockchain, cryptocurrency, tokenization of real estate, so forth and so on. And I'm educating those who are really looking for what's happening today that's going to be impacting the world in 3 to 5 to 10 years in the future. And you don't want to miss out on being a potential pioneer with us, because those of us who are in the know today are benefiting from it now, and it's going to X-fold in the next 3 and 5 to 10 years for us that are in it now. And I'm confident that we might have something that would be for you and maybe not. But holistic true wealth is about balance and harmony across the disciplines: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial. And I embrace them, I teach them, and it's about really helping people create a life that is rich in experiences, relationships, and I build relationships with my guest speakers here, sharing the knowledge and the purpose. And really, by embracing this holistic approach, we can achieve a state of well-being that is sustainable and fulfilling, leading us to live our best lives. And finally, here, I believe that holistic mental and financial fitness is a new path to embracing true wealth. And it's about the future of true wealth, which is becoming a digital revolution. Even on the medical side, there's some really great things coming out from the science side. And we got med beds, and just to list that one there. But embracing new ways to true wealth in the modern world. I thank you, Simon, again for coming on board today and sharing your wisdom. People reach out to Simon. He's got some really great products, and I'm looking into him more, and I'll be contacting him when our well water turns into city water. So thanks. Catch you on the show next time.
I was playing. Huh. I was playing. Huh.